a seasoned constitutional lawyer. Ladies and gentlemen, for
YZ Yao has spoken, so I'm not quite sure how much more to add to what YZ has said. But I think that when we mention the situational accountability tracker, I think that tracker is already Agampe beginning to run. I assume tracker is beginning to run already. It's sitting. Yes, because it's important to know that it's sitting. We know that the Supreme Court is sitting today and taking very important decisions. We hope that, as I was mentioning, just sitting there now, the 2027 election has to be a contested election. There has to be strong parties running. I look back to 1982, 1983, when elections became a challenge for Nigeria. And we saw what happened, the moonslides, the landslides, and all of that took place and that later degenerated into democracy being truncated. And I worry for Nigeria. It pains me to see what is going on in our political situation today, to see that we do have a different kind of challenge. And that challenge is seeing what is happening with our political parties. It's not one party alone. All the parties. Today we struggled to enter here. Even the ruling party is struggling with managing the consequences of the Electoral Act. The consensus and direct elections has meant that parties have interpreted this in their own ways. Consensus perhaps is now emerging as what you call unity list in some parties, where those who are interested in running for elections are being beaten down and beaten out of the contest. And the system is being foisted with candidates who are selected across the parties. The beauty of democracy is that people have a choice. And where parties, whether it is ruling or opposition, are foisting candidates for we Nigerians to vote for, that's not democracy. Where parties are trying to emerge to run elections and they are not being allowed to emerge, that's not democracy. Where people are struggling, today is 30th of April, and INEC has foisted on us a timetable that I have repeatedly said is unjustified in the light of the constitutional provision that says that elections shall be held no earlier than 150 days and no later than 30 days. No later means that you cannot hold elections in Nigeria after April 30th of 2027. But in the same vein, you cannot hold elections 150 days, which is 5 months before May 29th. And if you count back, it begins in January. So if you have the latitude of 150 days and 30 days, please someone should explain to me what is the rush with forcing parties to hold primaries within a time frame that is almost impossible for parties to meet. We just had an Electoral Act passed by the National Assembly only a few weeks ago. A lot of us in civil society advocated for certain clauses in the Electoral Act. Some of them were not allowed. Even though it's an improved Electoral Act, and I should say so quite honestly and candidly, yet it's a new Electoral Act. And we have INEC compelling political parties to carry out the provisions of a new Electoral Act. And the reason I say it's new is because when you look at the provision that says that the date for general elections shall be no later than for INEC to announce the date for general elections should not be later than 360 days. The National Assembly amended it, and it wasn't at first instance. The Technical Committee of the National Assembly retained 360 days. Political pressure mounted that reduced it to 300 days. And then on top of it, you now have INEC further constricting the time. If you looked at 360 days, it meant that parties had up till September 18th to file their list of candidates. INEC has circumscribed this to now May 30th, and I see no reason for the rush. We're delighted as civil society to be working with INEC, and we are delighted that we have worked with INEC for so very long, supporting it to conduct elections with integrity and that is credible. We would want to support INEC to conduct credible elections in 2027. In the last couple of weeks, a lot of civil society organizations have mentioned that INEC needs to look at its timetable and relax that timetable to enable credible contest in the 2027 elections. If that timetable is not relaxed, there will be no credible elections in 2027. There will be no credible contest. And it is my hope that INEC understands this and understand that if there is no credible contest for elections in 2027, our democracy is endangered. It is the conduct of individuals, the conduct of institutions that determine the survival of democracy of the country. And if we as individuals, as institutions, as stakeholders who are responsible for enabling the conduct of free and fair elections do not speak up, then we should all prepare that there will be collective consequence for our failure to speak up or to do what is right. So my hope is that INEC does not come under political pressure to do what is wrong, and that it remembers that every single individual, whether we as civil society or members of the security services or members of INEC, will know that we all as individuals will bear personal responsibility for our own failure to do what is right by our democracy. Thank you so much.